here in my garlic patch this morning, and it is time to harvest garlic scapes. So what are garlic scapes? First of all, they are the flowering body of the garlic plant. If you look at the end here, this is basically a flower bud that would, if you left it on, would turn into a flower and then would turn into seed. But there's something that you want to get off of your garlic for two reasons. One, you can use them and they're delicious. And two, because then the energy of the plant, instead of going into flowers and seed, will go into the bulbs. So you'll get bigger, better bulbs. Say that 5 times fast. If you take off your scapes. Now, a couple things to know about that is that you don't get garlic scapes on soft neck garlic varieties. So the kind of garlic that kind of is the bulbs all form kind of the complete ball is all bulbs. With hard neck, what you get is you have a stem that goes right up through the bottom, and then the cloves of garlic are around that stem. So you want to get these off, but they're not wasted. These are actually a delicacy. People really look forward to garlic scapes every year, but again, you're only going to get them on hard neck varieties. So it depends what you're growing. If you're in the south or a warmer climate, you may not have scapes because you may be growing a soft neck variety because that's what does better there. Up here in the northeast, we usually grow more hard neck varieties because that's what does better here. The soft neck do store a little better. You know, a lot of varieties out there to choose from, and certainly some people do, and I have grown soft neck varieties even here in the northeast, but hard neck is what does best for me. My variety is a Russian red, so these are actually a little bit behind everyone else in my area, probably by as much as 2 weeks before I see my scapes. And that's fine, you know, that's just the timing of the plant. Kind of depends on where you are, when your spring comes, how quickly you warm up. Most of us are seeing scapes between the beginning to middle of June. And again, mine are a little bit later, just because of the variety that I have. But then there are going to be people who see them earlier. So the trick is really just to keep an eye on your garlic. Watch for when those scapes start forming. They're going to grow up from the middle of the plant. When they first start forming, you might not even notice that they're forming. But then when they're ready, you want to get them off. So ideally, you get them off when they're in their more tender stage. And that is when they've begun to curl. Like if we take a look at this one here, it's begun to curl. It hasn't made a full circle, but you know, it's almost there. They say around 270 degrees if you're a real geometric person, but basically look for a good curl in it, and that'll tell you that this is ready to come off and is at a good stage of tenderness. If you wait a little longer, and certainly I've got some in this patch, because you know, life happens to garden writers too, and we don't always get out here at the ideal time. You know, you can see I've got some with full curls. I probably even have some in here with double curls. I'm still taking those. Those are still perfectly good to use. You know, if I want something for a fresh dish, I might choose to use the more tender ones with a little less curl. And if I'm doing something like pickling or chopping and drying, dehydrating for a garlic scape powder, then I'll lean towards the ones with more curl to them. Once you get these off, there's a ton of uses for them. I just mentioned a few. You can saute them up, you can chop them, put them in salads, you can steam them, you can dry them. Obviously, I'm going to have a lot of scapes here, and one of my favorite things to do is to chop them up, put them in the dehydrator. When they're dry, I pulverize them in my blender or food processor, make a nice powder, and that's a nice mildly garlic seasoning powder for absolutely everything, because garlic goes on everything in this household. So, you know, tons of ways you can use them. Again, people pickle them, just like you would pickle cucumbers or dilly beans or anything. Make a brine, put these in, you're good to go. So tons of things you can do with them. They are definitely not a waste. They are another product of your garden, and if you have hard neck garlic, you should definitely be doing them. So let's talk just real quick about picking these off. So again, you know, every scape in this patch is going to get picked. But, you know, so the easy way to do it is just to reach down and they'll snap right off. You can also kind of pull them up out. It's a little tougher to do, and this is not my preferred method. You'll probably see why, but you can gently pull up. It broke off anyway, out of the center, and that gives you a longer scape. It is hard to do, and you do risk pulling the bulb out of the ground. So again, that's not really how I do it, and I don't want to try and do that too much with one hand and one hand on the camera, because I can't stabilize the plant with the other hand. But if you do, it gives some of the length from the bottom. But basically, go through, snap them off. If you're having a tough time snapping off, they usually snap off easily by hand. But you can also just, bring out a little pair of nippers or scissors. Kids' scissors work well. Any of that. And that's all there is to it. Garlic scapes are not complicated. If you're not seeing scapes on your garlic and you think that it's the time of year you should, it's probably because you have a soft neck variety. And again, that's all there is to it. Enjoy your garlic scapes. Look for some great ways to use them. If you have a great way that I haven't mentioned, please drop it in the comments and share, because I'm always looking, and I'm sure other people are too, always looking for more ways to use the garlic scapes. So I'm going to pick some of these off, make a nice pesto later. They've got a nice mild garlic flavor. It's kind of an early way to enjoy your garlic. So happy garlicking.